Working on dinner for the family tonight, and I'm using these mats that I just bought from a company online that I found. It's called a LoMi Mat. This is the company's emblem. Don't ask me what that means, but apparently they were featured on Shark Tank at some point. Um, this mat is basically a fireproof uh, mat that you're supposed to use to protect your cooktop. They actually advertise it to be used not just for induction, but also for standard radiant electric cooktops because it's heat resistant up to 2000 degrees. It's made of some kind of silicon dioxide or fiberglass kind of thing. I don't really understand the technology, but it's kind of neat. It looks like fabric. It's shiny. But he was just showing you. I actually bought two mats because one of the reasons I wanted to try these was not just to keep the cooktop clean, but also to insulate the inductor a little bit. I thought if I had two of these between the inductor and the pan, I'd be less likely to overheat the inductor when I'm doing a lot of heavy searing or making things like tortillas that require high heat for a pretty long time. Um, so here it is. You can see from the water test that it is indeed still heating the pan, even with two mats, fairly thick mats between the pan and the inductor. Um, the company, it's kind of a confusing product, honestly. Uh, it's it's advertised to protect your cooktop, your glass cooktop, but it's not water resistant. You can see the weave is pretty open. If you drip, if you boil a pot over, um, the water, that starchy pasta water is still going to get on your cooktop. So it doesn't really do that. I guess when I drop things on the cooktop and splatter grease, it would probably stop that. They offer a full-size version that covers your entire cooktop. These, the two mats together. Whoops, I have the cooktop turned off. The two mats together um, were $50. They're like 20 something a piece. I think it's approaching 30 a piece if you just buy a single mat. They do not sell a round version. I asked because that would make sense for my cooktop, I thought. But yeah, it only comes in squares, so it does overlap. I guess if I turn it, this would annoy me if I was using more than one pan. There we go. I guess I can still use all my burners, at least when it's on this big burner. This only comes in the 13-inch size, so if I'm putting it on this little 8-inch burner, it's definitely going to block the other burner. But you can see it's simmering just fine, it's searing just fine. I'll have to do another test when I make some tortillas next and see how if it helps to insulate the pan at all. I've had these LoMi mats for a few weeks now. I'm using them occasionally. Um, Mostly, like I said, I bought these not really to protect my cooktop as much as to insulate it a little bit. So I actually have two mats. Mostly using it when I'm doing heavy searing. Um, I did. I've also been using it when I use my Bialetti inductor adapter, and I was being dumb and set the adapter on top of one of these things and turned the burner to high, which was actually power boost, and it got hot enough that I melted whatever the interior of this plate is. I thought it was aluminum, but I don't think aluminum would have melted at stovetop temperature. I mean, when I checked the temperature with my contactless temperature probe, it read like 550 degrees. So must be, I don't know what, zinc, pot metal. Um, but anyway, my induction adapter is a little dark and slightly melted. Still works though for my Bialetti. Um, I just I have the adapter, and it's frustrating how slow it is compared to just using an induction compatible mocha pot. But my little 1 cup is not induction compatible, so I've got this. Anyway, I never did shut the burner down. It just melted the thing. Luckily, I had the mat in place so that no molten metal was on my cooktop. One thing I did notice about these mats, which I didn't realize, is that this black outer layer um, it is not heat proof. I think it's just polyester or nylon. So if you touch your hot pan to that black layer, it melts. And there it is on the mat. So if I get this part hot, it's probably going to burn off or something. The other thing is when you start to use it, you know, this came with a little bit of wax, they said, on the fibers, just because of the way that they make it. That's burning off. Probably a little bit of whatever gunk I have on there is burning off. So it is getting a little discolored. Not a big problem for me. So I'm going to sear a tuna steak here. And we're on power boost. Let's see how it goes. Interesting that some parts of the pan seem to be hotter than others. Maybe that's got to do with how much it's reflecting or how flat it is. They said with this thing, if you're pointing it at something that's flat, might not read correctly. Here we go. We're searing. Temperature of the pan is staying around 400 or 500 degrees, depending on where I'm reading. So good and hot. Yeah, right under where the tuna was, it was 500 degrees. 640. Okay, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I don't think I need this to be on power boost. $640 degrees. Your glass top electric stove isn't going to do that. Pretty sure. 650. This was probably really bad for my pan. 700 degrees. And I turned it down from power boost to 8. Just because I was getting a little scared. So, I mean, this is getting up to 800 degrees on power boost. This could have gotten to 1200 degrees and melted the aluminum. I'm not really sure. On power boost, I bet it did. Just for a second, I'm sure it didn't hold that temperature very long. Burn up my pan here. Let's turn it back down. Go down to 6. Yeah, we're reading 700 degrees, in some places 750. Can't do that with non-stick either, can you? I'm gonna set the smoke alarm on. Oh, that's terrible. Let's open the window. Still at 700 degrees. Yeah, so I bet if I had this thing on power boost, it probably did get up to 1200 degrees. I wonder if I have to worry about this pan like exploding. I turned it back to power boost. Let's see what we're gonna hit. 800. Yeah, it could have gone to 1200. Alright, I think that tuna steak is pretty well seared. And it's funny, even at 800 degrees, there's not a lot of popping and sizzling. I guess just because this is so dry and so lean. So anyway, and it's still, you can hear that cooktop has still not kicked off. Like it was still on full power. So 760 degrees on the pot. Let's get a hot pad. $560 on top of the mat. $450 below the mat. So it certainly is insulating. I mean, we're 100 degrees lower beneath the mat than above the mat. So that's doing what I was hoping it would do, I think, for searing on really high heat. That was unnecessarily high heat, I think. But I'm really impressed with the induction that it can even get to those temperatures. Can't imagine the old coil range getting that hot. So some final thoughts on the LoMi Mat. You can see when I got up to 800 degrees, it's definitely not pretty anymore. This product, it's a weird product. Like it was initially marketed, from what I understand, on the Shark Tank show as a product that you could lay. They make a full size one that'll go over your entire range. It was marketed as a product that people with radiant electric cooktops could lay over their entire cooktop to protect the cooktop and keep it looking nice. But the issue I have with that, and they make a few different I should add, they do make a few different varieties of this mat. This is style number 4. They all kind of do the same thing. They all look a little bit different. The company describes what each is good for on the website. This is kind of the thicker of the mats. But anyway, regardless, they're all white. Some are kind of gray colored, but they're all this sort of off-white color. And if you're laying this over your glass cooktop and it's going to look like this, what's the point? That's like that. To me, this is not prettier than a slightly scratched glass cooktop. So I don't really understand why, or even stuff burnt on. I mean, it's burnt on there instead of on your cooktop. I guess that makes sense to some people. If you're a screen protector kind of person for your phone, where the screen protector looks all beat up and terrible, but actually the glass underneath is still good, maybe this is something you would like. For me, if I just had a radiant electric cooktop, I would not buy this product. I don't think I could recommend it. It's neat, but it's kind of silly. But for the induction cooktop, for this one application, high heat searing, I actually really like it. I mean, it makes me feel a little bit better about abusing, because probably searing on high heat like that is really me abusing my cooktop. Makes me feel a little better about the abuse that I'm giving my cooktop. And did it shed some fibers? But even then, do I really need it? It was, I mean, I bought 2 mats at 20 something dollars a piece. This is $50 for this thing. Even then, I'm not sure that I would really buy it again. They make those silicone mats to protect your cooktop, which you wouldn't want to use in high heat because they melt at 500 degrees. And as you saw there, that pan was almost 800 degrees while I was searing that tuna steak. The other thing is, it's supposed to protect your cooktop and keep it all nice, right? But it has left this melted on gunk. And I think that it would probably come off if I scratched at it. I'm thinking it will. But here again, if it's going to leave melted on gunk, why would you buy it just to keep melted on gunk from getting onto your cooktop? It seems kind of silly for that purpose, honestly. So I'll give it a weak recommendation. If you're going to be searing on high heat, and really 800 degrees was excessively high heat. You can see I burned off most of the seasoning from this cast iron skillet. I could weakly recommend it. It would protect your cooktop from scratches to a certain extent, but like I said, the problem there is that the thing itself is kind of ugly. So, like, do you want an ugly cooktop or an ugly thing on your cooktop? I will say that I do cook with cast iron a lot, or carbon steel. I have noticed at least one scratch on the cooktop. So maybe I should be a little more careful with sliding things around. I don't know if I really care that much. But this should prevent that. Although the company, if you read the write-up on these, they do say don't slide heavy cookware around on it because you'll end up fraying the mat. You're also not supposed to fold them or slide them around too much because you can fray this fabric. So to summarize, the LoMi Mat, it's an interesting product. Can I recommend it for everyone? Meh, probably not. It's really neat though, and I'll tell you, the people who run the company are very responsive. I messaged them to see which one they thought would be best for my application for actually insulating the cooktop rather than, because if you're meant to use this on radiant cooktops, it shouldn't be insulating. It should let the heat through. And they did respond pretty quickly. So hope this was helpful. I'm trying to get this matte residue off my cooktop. I've been scrubbing with soap and a sponge for a couple of minutes now. It doesn't seem to be coming off. So another downside, I would say, I mean, if you're trying to keep your cooktop in good shape and the mat leaves junk on your cooktop, then it's really not doing what it's supposed to do, is it? I would say do not recommend this product. I've been scrubbing the cooktop for a while with soap and a little scrubby. I even tried the specialty cooktop cleaner. And the little grid pattern from that mat is still showing on the cooktop. So if the point is to be able to use this on a radiant electric cooktop, which, I mean, those things get hot, and not leave a mark, even scratching, trying to scrape off with my little block scraper here. Like, what's the purpose if you're gonna get marks on it anyway? So I really don't think I can recommend this product. I mean, I'll probably keep on using it for, high heat searing again, because it does insulate the cooktop a bit. Would I buy it again? Probably not. And can I recommend it for people with radiant electric cooktops? Almost certainly not. Here's an update on this burner. It does seem like I got a majority of that pattern off from the mat. Some of it is kind of worn off with cooking. So I'm thinking that might wear off eventually. It's still there a little bit, but not as bad as it was.